from Micah chapter 6, verse 8. This verse is often cited as a summary of God's requirements. A summary of God's requirements. He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. The words of our Lord. Thanks be to God.
I'm a bit of an artist. I wanted to show you the only thing I've ever drawn that looks like what it's supposed to look like. There, can you see that? Can you tell what it is? It's a good likeness. It's the comb if you look at it this way. Really? Look at that. It is, it's perfect. So let's talk about justice, because what you see and how you define justice often depends on what angle you're looking at it from. Supposing you're going through airport security to the United States, and they ask you if you have anything in your baggage, firearms, batteries, fresh fruit, alcohol. You say no because you don't. And then they open your bag, and there's the orange you were going to have for lunch, and you forgot about it. Complete accident. Would you like justice or mercy? Suppose somebody breaks into your house, manages to get a hold of your passwords and your credit cards, breaks into your account, steals thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it is you've got. Then they shoot the budgie so it won't tell. Then they burn down your house to hide the evidence. And they've done this to several families, and the police finally catch up to them. Do you want the courts to say, oh, well, it happens sometimes? Would you want justice? Supposing New Zealand is covered, has a combination drought and flooding and becomes uninhabitable. I'm choosing New Zealand because nobody hates New Zealanders, right? Okay. So New Zealanders need a new place to live. Should we let some of them into Canada? Okay. Supposing 50 of them are living in your backyard and on your balcony. They are using your barbecue. There's garbage everywhere. New Zealand wine bottles, Australian beer cans. Garbage everywhere. They're using your water hose, and there's no latrine out there, so you know. Oh, those poor rose bushes. And there are more moving in every day. There are men, there are women, there are babies out on your balcony or in your backyard, and they have no intention of leaving because they have nowhere else to go. Do you still want more New Zealanders? Here's the problem: determining what is justice. Because what you see and what you want depends on where you are. You want to be kind to those in need, don't you? Yeah. We know that there are standards that need to be enforced. And we feel that people who break the rules should face consequences. But it looks different when it impinges on us personally, doesn't it? But sometimes, because sometimes our feelings about justice, they lean towards our own advantage and away from the people we would really like to not be our problem. And maybe, you can get people to do for a while what they should be doing out of a sense of guilt and obligation. Have you ever done something out of a sense of guilt and obligation? You know, but if somebody stops the pressure, you want to keep doing it? You know, guilt and social pressure are terrible motivators because the same good people who want homes for the shelters don't want them on their street. So what is justice, really? Micah 6:8. The Lord has told you what is good, and this is what he requires of you: to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. What does it mean to do justice? There are at least 3 kinds of justice that are mentioned in the Bible. There is a justice, the technical name is retributive justice, but we're going to call it payback justice because it's easier to pronounce. And that means in the Old Testament, if you stole a sheep, you didn't go to jail, you had to get them another sheep plus a sheep. If you stole money, it wasn't enough to return the money, you had to return what you stole plus to the person who you've inconvenienced. It was payback. If you injured somebody's eye or somebody's tooth, you paid back an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That's where the expression comes from, plus a fine. And if you were never caught, or if justice never caught up to you, God promised to see to justice personally because justice never done is injustice. And there's a reason why we call it the last judgment. Is that still on the books? Yeah. Both the rewards for doing good, the rewards you never received in life, the penalties for doing what you got away with. Luke 6. Jesus preached God's justice in the Sermon on the Plain. He said, the ones who are going hungry now, God will see that they're satisfied. And the ones who stuff themselves without any regard for the needs of others, they're going to experience hunger. There have to be consequences, or there is no justice for the evil in this world. But if justice is only for those people and not for us, is that fair? If it's not fair, then is it justice? See, it's important for us to stay conscious of that and to rely heavily on the grace and mercy made available to us through the cross of Jesus Christ, because we not only need justice, we need mercy and the forgiveness that flows into a second kind of justice. And the first kind of justice is payback justice. Second kind of justice is relational justice. Any of you have brothers and sisters? You fight with your brothers and sisters? Were they always fair? Were you always fair? Yes. You still feel the injustice of it, don't you? There's a Hebrew word, tzedekah, which means right relationships between people, just relationships, fair relationships between people. It means being fair. It means having compassion. It means caring for the vulnerable and not showing favoritism in a way that leaves people out. It means, you know, one of the shocking things that I learned in ministry, back in another place in the day where men ran the business, it was a kind of area where when you went anywhere with another couple, the men would ride in the front and the women would ride in the back. And generally, in those households, men ran the businesses, ran the farms, ran the finances. And when a woman was widowed, when her husband died, what shocked me is that there was always somebody ready to come in and sweep in and offer to buy everything at a discounted price and take advantage of what was financial naivety, and sometimes in other ways as well. And one time that happened, the perpetrator was a guy who went to my church. And I had a talk with him. And I don't think he's happy with me to this day. But we in the Church of Jesus Christ, one of our jobs is to be God's mouthpiece, to speak on behalf of those who can't act and to act as we are able. There's a young man in the 70s, back before when Jack was a little boy. At that time, St. Paul's had evening services, folk services at Gage Park. And after the folk service, one of the guys who'd been there came to the Main Street door and asked to see the minister, and the minister wasn't available. And he did, you don't want the details, he did something that injured himself severely, was rushed to the hospital. And when the hospital was ready to discharge him, he was in a state where he needed months to recover before he could manage on his own. And there was a woman in this church by the name of Fran Giroux, little French-Canadian woman, who had a big empty house, and she took him into her home until he recovered. And I don't think everybody can do that. I don't know that everybody should do that, but she did it. Romans 12 says, if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. It says, don't be a snob, but associate with the lowly. It says, repay no one evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If someone is being a jerk at school or at work, you know what I mean. And you have the opportunity to make someone's life better. You do it. That's justice. And you'll make some loyal friends. And you can make some dedicated enemies. But look to the cross. Nobody ever said that justice comes cheap. One more. That's not me. The third kind of justice is social justice. And it means there are big things wrong in the world that are bigger than individuals can fix. There are social institutions that are dedicated to injustice. You know, one of them, Justin Welby, who was the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Church of England, which is sort of head of Anglicans all over the world. He's from his background is finance, and he noticed, you know, these check cashing companies, Paycheck, you know, they charge a huge commission for people who have to cash their paycheck early because they need the money to pay their rent or for groceries. And he got tired of seeing the poorest of the poor being ripped off by these companies that are predatory on them. And he tried to set up a financial institution run by the Church of England. I think there were regulatory problems that prevented him from doing it. But he's got the idea. He created QR codes for people begging so that people could give to a local shelter and food kitchen through their QR code without having to hand over cash directly, which none of us carry anyways. You know, in the 1700s, British Methodists noticed that many people who had been enslaved from Africa into the Americas were coming to Christ through British Methodist missionaries. And a man named William Wilberforce had a realization. He thought, oh my God, these people are our brothers and sisters in Christ, being captured and sold by fellow Christians and treated abominably. And he wanted to put a stop to it, but there was so much wealth and so much of the economy tied up in the slave trade that nobody would give him a hearing. It was like saying, as of tomorrow, we're going to stop using all fossil fuels. And people say, well, how could Christians do that back in the day? I suspect one day future generations could look back and say, how could they be Christians and pollute the environment that way? It's just we have blind spots to whatever is our culture. He was a member of parliament and he couldn't get a law passed around slavery, but he did get a law passed making it illegal for British ships to carry captives taken from Africa. And then, I'm not going to tell the whole story. Then he got a law through making it illegal to keep enslaved persons in Britain. And the abolition movement flowed out of that. See, God is emphatic in the Bible that widows, orphans, the poor, captives are of special concern to him personally. They're his. And I keep a wide variety of friends in my network. I just like to do that. I have friends and colleagues who believe that truly the only way to be Christian and to be in favor of justice is to align with the Green Party or the Conservative Party or the NDP. And I think that's why some people voted for the orange guy south of the border. They're not wrong to believe that God has given government as a tool of justice. But if we ever forget that our primary alignment is to Jesus Christ, if we ever forget that the source of justice is in a right relationship with God and with our fellow human beings, if we become more attached to a political party or to an ideology or to a philosophy than we are to the person of God as we know him through Jesus Christ, then we become the tools of whatever activists have the most skill in manipulating our emotions. And I've had a front row seat to watch this happen on the right and on the left. And I can tell you that churches are particularly vulnerable because we feel for people. We care about people. And that's why putting Christ at the center of everything we think, everything we do, everything we say is the beginning of genuine justice. It's where we start to get, oh no, I've lost my artwork. It's where we start to get, somebody's going to find that and want to, oh no, it's been tossed already? Thank you, I was afraid somebody had taken it, framed it. That's the way we get the whole picture. The whole picture. Now you know what it is, don't you?